Hello and welcome to Mystery Simon Theater 3000. I'm Simon, and I'm going to be taking you through my VHS collection of almost 3,000 tapes. In each episode, I'm going to be telling you about the 3 tapes that I watched, one of which is chosen via random number generator. The second one is chosen by my co-host, and the third one is chosen by a guest. And today's guest is Josh Lane, film enthusiast and local...
Local
friend of Johnny, as opposed to international or national friend of Johnny.
Yeah, resident of planet Earth.
Yeah, then local.
Yeah.
So, Josh, welcome. Thank you for coming. Tell us a little bit about yourself in relationship to just like movies and media. I know we were chatting about the kinds of like other obsolete media that you own.
Yeah, no, I have a long-standing fascination with movies, but also like movies at home. Like how you consume them at home is actually more of my passion than actually going out to see a movie. So it stems all the way back to when I was a little boy, and my dad took me to this like electronics shop, this small little electronics shop. And we had this thing called a VCD player, which, if you know what it is, it's basically a record inside of a plastic jacket that RCA, like, it's basically a movie on a record. Mm-hmm. And we had like 2 movies. One was MASH and one was Saturday Night Fever. And I wasn't allowed to watch Saturday Night Fever, and I was only allowed to watch the second side of MASH because it only had the football game, none of the nudity.
Okay.
So that was like our first, basically being empowered to watch a movie at home when you wanted to. Oh, yeah. And then we went to that same little shop, and I walked in, and there was this TV with a different device underneath it that looked totally different than what we had. And they were playing that scene from Rambo First Blood where he's hanging on the cliff. And I was just like, what is this? And the guy behind the counter is like, it's a VHS player. And I'm just like, what is this? And my like child brain was like blown. And so that kind of like started this whole chain reaction of like falling in love with, I think it's like this mesh of or meld of the electronics and the movies kind of coming together and how you view them at home. My babysitter taught me how to like dupe tapes in the 80s. So definitely a child of VHS. I was a latchkey kid, so that was kind of my jam.
So when was the first time you got to watch the first side of MASH?
That was probably, I think, Laserdisc days. So like in the 90s, I latched onto Laserdisc because I was like, if they ever come out with a player like $250 or less, I'm like, I'm buying it. And they came out with a budget one, Pioneer did, and it was like $250, and I bought it. And then like my local video store was selling all of their rental Laserdiscs. Oh, cool. And so I was like, I just grabbed as many as I could afford.
That's so cool.
Which is part of one of our movies here. I originally saw on Laserdisc from that pickup. Yeah, I was like in the 90s, and that's when I got into like the audio around movies too, like surround sound and stuff started to become available, to people. And I made my mom's living room into like a surround theater, and she was really upset that I hung speakers on her wall. But then, and then I went, early adopter of like DVDs. Mm-hmm. I used to walk into Best Buy and it's like, oh, they have like a shelf. There's like Purple Rain and Batman and like 5 others. And I was like, well, the day that they put Logan's Run on DVD, that's when it's actually, it's a legit thing. Like it's going to take off. It's going to be successful.
It's an interesting
That was like my litmus test. It's like, it's obscure enough, but it was big budget enough. But it's like, it's one of those movies that you only release when the medium is actually taken hold. So I walked into a Best Buy at some point and they had like 3 aisles of DVDs. And I was like, let's go to L.
And it was there.
And it was there. And I was like, okay, where are the DVD players? And that's when I bought a DVD player.
Wow. So are you when you reach this point in your film journey or your like library journey, were you replacing your old movies with DVDs? Because that's sort of like what happened in my household with my dad. anytime the new contraption came out,
Yeah.
didn't look back.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, so I currently 4K. That's my jam. And when I pick up something on 4K, it's a little complicated now because now I have to go online and research what is different about the mastering of it. Did they do the what is it? Teal and orange treatment, to the color grading, which is in fashion. Did they do that to this older movie? And do I need to keep my older movie? Terminator 2 on 4K is a great example. It's terrible. Ooh. It's got so much noise reduction that a lot of people's faces look like silly putty and stuff.
Oh,
and they did this
it's like a zoom filter.
Yeah. And they tweaked the color grading, and so it's nope, sticking with the Blu-ray. So as I get these 4Ks, I'm actually I have a friend. His name's Dave. He also has a massive movie collection. It's my buddy back in Oklahoma, and he's got a large. We both have problems with collecting movies. Let's put it that way. We've had conversations around well, if we sat down and tried to watch all of our movies, we would never be able to watch all these movies. Why do we have so many kind of conversations? Which,
like Johnny with books.
Yeah. So I will replace things, or I'll gift him things that, do you have this? I'll send it to him, right? But my VHS tapes, I kind of carried those around. And then when I was leaving Chicago to move to Portland, I revisited them because I was I thought we were moving into a smaller place. So when I revisited, I was these are absolutely terrible to watch. Because they were 3 movies crammed on tape, so they were recorded, duped at EP speeds.
Yeah.
And I was just okay, these are all going in the trash because nobody could possibly want these. But yeah, I kind of I retain what's the current best version. And thanks to you, Johnny, I have, and you, I have a small little VHS collection now.
Yeah. I've been watching it.
Really?
I've been watching it.
Yeah. Mostly the things that were really the movies that I loved watching on VHS, and some that are unique that just never made it to DVD or Blu-ray.
Right.
Interesting.
Right. And at least one title that we've discussed on this show before, Mission Impossible.
Oh yeah.
Which has one of your. You've mentioned to me it's maybe some of the best audio on VHS in that title sequence.
Yeah. So, I've been really fighting the urge to buy a Laserdisc player again. If Amanda, my wife, was here, she would be urging me not to do so. But it's
you could still think about it though.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. But the funny thing is they were expensive, then they came down, and then you couldn't gift them away. Now they're expensive again, because they're all breaking down.
Yeah.
And the only people that have them seem to be people who, I know what I got. And so I'm not going to spend $450 on a Laserdisc player at this point.
Right.
But it was in this period where Laserdisc was getting better audio. And a lot of them, Jurassic Park, has a DTS copy that is literally the DTS audio that they debuted in theaters, pretty much. But nowadays, they're EQing a lot of these soundtracks from the theater to home video to kind of compensate for people's the general experience. Somebody might have a sound bar, somebody might have a big system, but it's kind of, the classic I can't hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
The dialogue problem that we're experiencing. It's a small part of it, but once it makes it to you, if it's on streaming, it's been EQ'd again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To suit the taste. Maybe Hulu says we want to make sure everybody can hear the dialogue, so we'll EQ it so that dialogue is boosted, things like that. So, but the Laserdisc days were very much, you're an enthusiast who wants to see the best representation of the movie because it's in widescreen. It's also got the truest audio because we're just literally taking what we had in the theater and we're putting it on this disc.
Right.
And it's where digital sound started that got incorporated to DVD and stuff like that. But so Mission Impossible was definitely one of those expensive Laserdiscs that I bought. and saw it a million times. But yeah, the
Worth
sound,
every penny.
Yeah, the sound on that still, even with the newest 4K, which is much, much better than the Blu-rays that ever treated it and the DVDs, it just doesn't have the same punch that Laserdisc did. So,
wow. Our three movies that we watched this week is Alfred Hitchcock's 39 Steps, Clint Eastwood's A Perfect World, and David Fincher's Panic Room. We're going to start with Panic Room because I want to leave more room. I'm pretty sure we're going to go down some rabbit holes with your pick, which is A Perfect World. And we're definitely going to go down some of these exact same rabbit holes with 39 Steps and transfer issues and weird distribution, like film distribution theories as non-experts. This is a movie that we watched fairly recently. I've been a longtime listener of the Blank Check podcast, and they had pretty recently done David Fincher's filmography, so I was able to grab our copy from the collection and watch it when we were doing that. And we enjoyed it the first time around. We enjoyed it the second time. I do feel like it's just a little too long in a couple of places, and although I do appreciate all of the intricate camera work, I think it goes a little too far in a few places. But really big fan of this cover. I think that when we actually do see this moment in the movie, it's one of those where just like, oh, you see the meme, you're just like, the meme is coming. The meme shot is coming. That's what it felt like here. And it was just such a wonderfully tense and well choreographed scene. It was really satisfying by the time we actually got to it. Or I found it really, really satisfying. Let's see. So nothing else on the front besides Jodie Foster's above the title. And here we go. Trapped in their New York brownstones panic room, a hidden chamber built as a sanctuary in the event of break-ins, newly divorced Meg Altman, Jodie Foster, and her daughter Sarah, Kristen Stewart, play a deadly game of cat and mouse with three intruders: Burnham, Forrest Whitaker, Raoul, Dwight Yoakam, and Junior. Junior was his name?
Junior was his name.
I thought it was a nickname.
And
maybe
Thievin was his game.
Jared Leto. During a brutal home invasion. But the room itself is the focal point because what the intruders really want is inside it. That's kind of a little bit of a, I don't know, that's also a trailer scene though. Like what we want is in that room.
Yeah, you learn it early on enough. I don't feel like that's given too much away.
I guess.
It's a nice tight log line though.
It is really nice and tight. It's also very kind of matter of fact. And there is nothing else. I would have thought that I remember when this movie came out, I'm pretty sure it did really well. Or at least I remember it not being a flop or a bomb. And critically, I'm pretty sure it was well received. So I'm just a little surprised there are no reviews to sell it.
It's a 2002 release, so it's like real late in the game for VHS. Because I was thinking about 2002. Like I saw this on DivX, and not the DivX that was like the rental thing from Circuit City, but it was like a video encoding that was like worse quality, like slightly worse quality than like DVD. My buddy used to like acquire these things, and we were watching movie after movie after movie. So the first time I saw this was just like in a slew of like a chain of movies, and I remember seeing it, and I was like, it's like, this is the first time I want to watch it since like 2002. So yeah, I was like excited to see it again, but my only takeaway, and it was faulty memory, was I just vividly remember the CGI and the use of CGI. And for some reason, the flashlight scene where they're trying to get somebody's attention out.
Yeah.
I had remembered it as a gun, and them like showing you the inside of it, which turned out to be the inside of the flashlight. And that was the thing that always stuck with me. I was like, why did we have to like see inside this computer generated like flashlight?
Right.
But that I can kind of get into that when we talk about like the visuals, because you were kind of hinting at maybe a little bit overdone at times.
Yes. Although there are, like I said, some things I did appreciate. There were some really interesting things that they were doing with some of the camera choreography, I guess. But once it dipped into that, like that one really long shot that goes across the entire bottom floor and like through the kettle and through the chair, and like that part completely took me out of it. And we have a 12-inch CRT VCR combo. That's what we watch that's what we watch anything that's not streaming. We watch it on that TV. And we could be having more like cinematic movie going experience, but the upside of this setup is that bad CGI looks pretty good. It did not look that great on our tiny little CRT. But really, that's one of the couple of shots that I thought they went too far with. When they're going like super zoomed in, when I think when they're like banging on a wall or on the ceiling, and then you see like the crumbs and the dust shake off. Yeah. That was interesting, but I was also waiting for something for that to be a little bit more meaningful.
Yeah, I was kind of confused by that, because I was like, when they do the close up and they show like these particles of like cement or mortar or whatever falling on this wall, right? Then they're like, oh, there's somebody on the other side of the wall. Like we need to like let them know we're here. And I was like, how did these like little these dust particles or whatever like
that caught me off guard when they're like neighbors, and I'm just like, huh? And I had the exact same reaction whenever it was we watched it the last time, where I was just like, how did we get to that?
Yeah. How does that mean that? Yeah.
But I really did like when we were using CGI to go from one room to another, and we were just seeing the in-between space between the drywall and the steel. It kind of reminded me of the way cameras would move from scene to scene in like a multi-camera sitcom. Like they would just kind of go through the wall. And I thought that was great. Like I appreciated seeing in detail all the little layers of the building that we don't normally see.
Yeah, sure.
In the second watch, I was trying to figure out if I could get a better sense of where everything is, because it's this huge brownstone in New York. It's got 3 floors, and they spend so much time showing you where everything is. I still had no idea where everything was.
Oh yeah.
Like the different floors, there was nothing really unique or special, or nothing that they established to help, or that they brought back in to remind me this is the second floor or this is the third floor.
Yeah.
That was a little disorienting.
I really had almost no idea unless they were in the actual, like the titular panic room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I agree. I think like they took so much time time to show you around the house. Mm-hmm. But there were scenes
everything
where it was like
dark,
when she
everything's the same color.
When she was running to grab her daughter and like bring her into the panic room, like I really didn't know like how big of a risk are you taking? Like how far are you going?
Right.
Because I still didn't really have a good sense of the whole house, which by the way, that was a set. That entire building was built inside of a studio.
That's cool.
All those floors.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, apparently the production went on so long that like all the constant rain that they were creating on the outside like started to like stagnate and everything, and like it
did they need to?
Yeah, I was astounded to actually find out that they did that.
I thought some of the rain was CGI.
Apparently not.
Okay.
Huh.
Like
what an odd decision.
Early on in the movie, Jodie Foster's looking up into her skylight, and so we can see just like the pummeling downpour. I thought it was CGI. Interesting. So what I learned, and I really highly recommend the Blank Check podcast. If you like 3-hour podcasts, I do.
Does it have an intermission?
Sadly, no.
Oh.
But I mean, you can just pause, and it's a podcast. You can just pause it. what I learned from them is that the Nicole Kidman was originally cast as the lead of this movie. I believe right before or right after they started filming, she broke her leg. And so they had to completely replace her with Jodie Foster. And there's like a pretty drastic or dramatic height discrepancy.
Yeah.
And so they actually didn't re-choreograph any of the camera work. They just put her on like a box in certain scenes.
Nice.
But then Jodie Foster got pregnant halfway through. And I believe it's like the scene where she has to go talk to the cops and throws a sweater on. And she has a sweater for the rest of the movie.
Oh my gosh.
It's because she's showing. So like things like that are probably the reasons it took a lot longer than it anticipated. For a movie that takes place in one location, it probably wouldn't have.
Yeah. Yeah,
Make a great stage play.
What?
Panic Room.
It would.
It would actually make a pretty good play. Talk a little bit about these trailers.
The 15 trailers.
Bounty of trailers. Bounty.
Well, this makes up for all of the tapes that we've watched recently. Like, it's been like one tape per episode that have had trailers on average, it seems.
Yeah.
So this, again, this is also the spoilers only tape with trailers. So not going to complain that we were just like, and more, and more, and more.
And they were all like early 2000s gems.
Yeah.
They were good.
Okay, so we could dip into the distribution tangent because our tape is from Hollywood Video. Yours is from Blockbuster.
Yeah.
And it seems like
viewed.
we had all of the same trailers. So it starts with Trapped. I've had this problem before where there were either too many trailers or the movie was so unremarkable.
This one was definitely looked interesting. At the very least, strange because it looks like a relic of its time. Like Courtney Love is a lead.
Courtney Love? Courtney Love
is a lead character in this.
I can't almost every single time someone says Courtney Love in relation to her acting, I think of Courtney Cox.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes. Okay, so the only quote one of the narration just said like she refused to be the perfect victim. I thought that would have been a better title, The Perfect Victim. Yes, it's a movie that stars Charlize Theron, some other guy, Kevin Bacon, Courtney Love. And Dakota Fanning. So much so, I thought this was maybe Man on Fire, but no, that was with Denzel Washington, the one where he puts the bomb up a guy's butt.
I'll take your word on that.
That was like when that movie came out, that's all anyone wanted to talk about. Was
Nice.
The bomb in the guy's butt.
All right.
Followed by this is such an aughts movie. Vin Diesel's Triple X.
Oh yeah.
XXX.
That definitely placed this in time.
This trailer has some of the worst music I've heard in my life. Not worse than the music from the Mod Squad trailer.
And I was also going to say not worse than the music for Soul Assassin.
No, I'd have to listen to those again.
I'm going to say
Soul Assassin, that's the one with the Johnny Depp lookalike?
That's the one with Skeet Ulrich.
Skeet Ulrich?
Yeah. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
the music, I mean, like...
Okay, we'll get there.
I will honestly say it's the worst I've heard so far.
Triple X was like the producers of the Fast and the Furious, and it could just be an in-universe starring Vin Diesel's like twin. Lots of fast cars, lots of big stunts. Vin Diesel is kind of like the Catch Me If You Can scenario, where he's a criminal who gets recruited by the government to stop crimes? ? It sounds like a good Heckle movie, if anything.
I've never actually seen it.
I've never seen it.
Yeah. I saw of it. That makes any
sense.
Say more.
No, I was aware it was around, and it was always like, I remember like the Triple X logo.
Yes.
It was very much that, whatever that font was that was popular at the time.
Right.
But never actually watched it.
This always reminds me of this one, a trip I went on in high school with some other students and a couple of teacher chaperones. At the end of the night, we're just watching whatever was on the hotel TV, and Triple X was one of them. And so a bunch of the other students went to go watch it, and the teacher asked, like, what are you watching? It's like Triple X. And the next morning, he thought they were watching the porn.
Yeah,
Nice.
I wish I could remember the name of the actor, because the way Mr. Benoit, he just had such a wonderful flair about him. And when I remember, like, I almost can never forget the inflection. I forgot the name of the actor that he was talking about. He was just like, what would they be doing watching a movie with her in it? And,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
I'll go
thoroughly
look
wrote that one off when it came out. I was just like, it looks
Yeah.
like a tap out shirt. I'm done.
Yeah.
So following that is something that I really, really hate in the movie going experience, which is I'm about to watch a movie starring Jodie Foster, and here's another trailer featuring Jodie Foster. Strange.
Dangerous Lives of Altar Boys.
The Dangerous Lives of Altar Boys.
Yeah, this one threw me. I had to text my buddy and like, have you seen this movie? And he's like, I think I remember it. I don't know if I watched it, but I was like, how did this one escape me?
Yeah,
Like-
I want to see it.
It kind of like it starts off with the same kind, like if Dazed and Confused was a serious teen drama, and then halfway through the trailer, comic book panels start flashing on the screen. And I have no idea what this movie is about besides a teenage love story at a Catholic school.
Yeah.
Vincent D'Onofrio plays a priest, and Jodie Foster is a nun. If you just told me that, I'd be like, let's watch it.
Yeah.
Like,
We
let's
got
watch
a
this now.
Culkin in there too.
Oh yeah, we got a Culkin.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Pre-Igby Goes Down.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kieran's still pretty young.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you had all. Yeah, seems like it. The next one is. Oh wait, do you have Enigma before? Oh no, you have Soul Assassin. Okay.
Well, they had a Todd McFarlane animation spot.
That was The Dangerous Lives of Altar
Yes.
Boys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Following that is my boy Skeet is starring in a blue movie called Soul Assassin.
It's very blue. Yeah, and it's got some of the worst music I've ever heard in a preview.
It's pretty dang bad.
It's bad.
So this movie reminds me of, or at least what I'm imagining this movie is about, based on what the trailer is trying to sell me, is like it's kind of like The Crow, but not cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
This guy is
The pigeon.
a flying garbage can. Yeah, that's what it seemed like. Some dude is in love with the girl. She gets murdered by some shadow group, and he goes on a revenge spree and tries to figure out why they killed her. I don't know anything more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, the next one after this looks pretty cool, though.
I don't remember anything about Enigma.
All I was thinking was like,
Oh, that's the only one I genuinely, no jokes. Let's watch this. This looks really good.
well, I was like, isn't this the Imitation Game? Like the version. This is like the no Cumberbatch
the A&E version.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't realize they already did a movie on
That's Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this one actually gets into him like creating this big computer or whatever, but
Isn't the Imitation Game about Alan Turing?
wait, am I getting confused? Oh, so yeah, maybe I'm just confused because I was thinking of it just reminded me of Imitation Game. Is that the one where he creates that computer?
Yes.
But isn't that computer to help crack the Enigma, or am I misremembering that?
I don't know, and I always get my war computers mixed up between like Enigma, ENIAC, and like all of those. So I'm not reliable in this way, but I have brought up just a little bit of the plot. So it looks like during the heart of World War II, in March of 1943, crypto analysts at Britain's code-breaking center have discovered, to their horror, that Nazi U-boats have changed their Enigma code. So there's kind of the first line.
Kind of just like general code breakers of the
yes, and I always forget
wars.
which ones necessitated which computer. But yeah, it sounds like it's in the realm of what you're talking about, though.
Yeah,
I think so. But yeah, this one looked really, really good. And for a second, I thought that was Sean Bean that I was seeing here. It's not, but yeah.
Sean Bon?
Sean Bon, Sean Bean.
Okay. Following Enigma is one of the most disappointing moments in my life. Men in Black 2.
Oh.
So a franchise, I don't know. I want to say it's a franchise I love, but it isn't. Because the first Men in Black is one of my favorite movies almost ever. Definitely in my top 10, but I'll never have time to rank movies. The third one, I did enjoy. I don't know that I've met more than like one other person who thought it was more than decent, but I thought it was watchable. I thought was it needed? No, we did not need a third one. No, we did not need a second one. But I liked the third one. And Men in Black International, the X one, the one that we saw with Wally.
Yes.
That's maybe the most disappointing moment of my like later adulthood.
When did this one come out?
2018 or 19?
Oh. Something like that.
Yeah, I totally missed that. Is it kind of like? Is it kind of
fine?
Oh, it's good.
No.
No.
No, good that you missed it.
Is it kind of like the newer Matrix sequel?
No, I actually didn't mind it. We didn't need it.
Yeah,
we didn't need it.
But
that's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, the Men in Black X is unwatchable.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Okay. Following that is Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, second best Spider-Man movie.
What's the first best?
Spider-Man 2.
Okay, that's fair.
With Doc Ock.
Okay.
Enough. Oh, Jennifer Lopez one?
Yeah, and the way I wrote this down, it just looks like I was saying enough Jennifer Lopez.
Enough J-Lo.
Oh man.
But yeah,
you probably would have felt that back in the mid 2000s. Definitely.
When the trailer started and we just saw a bunch of clips of her, like I tried to predict what movie it was, and I couldn't. I was like, is this Angel Eyes? Is this
Jersey
Made
Girl?
in Manhattan? She's not in Jersey Girl.
She's not?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hold up.
Oh, I'm thinking The Wedding Planner. Is that what I'm thinking of?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Came out around the same time.
Right there. You had your finger on it.
Wait. Oh, here. Yeah, no. It's,
yeah. I'm thinking Ben Affleck. That's what I'm thinking.
No, you're thinking of Liz.
There's the neuron that wired together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Ben Affleck. That's yeah.
Yeah.
I actually came at this movie from a different angle, which was, oh, that's the name of the movie that I saw like 15 to 20 minutes of because it was playing on TV at my mom's house.
Oh.
I was like, what is this movie? And it's got like Jennifer Lopez, and I'm like, what? And she's like, set up this trap for this guy at his house?
She home alone her house against her ex-husband?
She, I forgot exactly what the intricacies of the plot were, but I saw like probably 15 minutes of this, the end scene, and I was like, and then so when I saw this trailer, I was like, oh, that's what it was called.
That we did see little clips of her like getting yoked and
crayon battle plan.
Yeah. And when we were watching that part, I was like, "Ooh, this looks kind of fun." Like I definitely look up the ending to enough to see.
I mean, I'm sure people on the other side of this video that are basically like, "This is a classic J-Lo movie. I can't believe you haven't seen this."
You know what? For them, I'll say this: The Cell. Like,
I love The Cell.
We'll give J-Lo some credit.
Yeah.
Cell's a great movie, and I think her performance in it is pretty decent.
I get excited over Vincent D'Onofrio. I do.
Yeah. The last two are gold. Like, I was so excited.
Oh,
They
Yeah,
right.
because we got
ended
into
on high
the
note.
we got into the now on home video segment
yeah,
of the trailers.
Yeah, exactly.
Resident Evil still available on home video.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
The original.
And it was, that I just look back on that movie with so much fondness, because at the time I was pretty disappointed by it because it wasn't anything like the video
game that you
games,
love.
and I was a huge fan.
Mm.
But going back to it and watching, it's just a super fun movie. Like, I think
It was a simpler time.
for a movie that honestly, like, if you took the games as any starting point, those games would just be hard to make into a movie that's worth watching. And so
That's most video games, though.
Yeah, they managed to find a story to tell that I think was, a decent enough story to put into a movie.
And closing that out is Dogtown and the Z-Boys.
Oh. One of my favorite documentaries.
I haven't seen it. I've only seen Lords of Dogtown.
Oh yeah, this is a great one. It's what turned me on to the early history of skating and
Skateboarding.
Yes.
Skateboarding.
Well, that's
Not my kind of skating.
Yeah, yes. But well, yes and a no, because actually, what
you could
you learn in that documentary is that a lot of the skateboarding started as people taking the wheels off their roller skates and putting it onto a piece of plywood. So hey, there's an intersection there.
Wait, I
like
thought it happened in 1955
with
in front of the
Marty-
clock tower.
Marty ripped
that's it.
apart a kid's
Someone took a
scooter.
razor scooter.
That's actually sorry, my historiography is all jacked up. If you haven't seen that documentary, go seek it out, because it really is a fun one.
My one-word description of this movie would be, I'd say it's tense. It's a really good tense thriller. Maybe not this watch, but when we watched it a few months ago, we were both pretty gripped the whole time.
Yeah.
When we weren't feeling the length of it in certain places, every little thing that she needs to do, there's a lot of tension that is really expertly built up, captured, and then released throughout the entire movie. I don't think we get very many chill scenes
Right.
at all.
Right. And Dwight Yoakam plays a creep so well in this movie.
Oh my gosh.
Like Raoul's character is just oh my gosh.
You mean Zorro, or Joe Pesci, as he's referred to?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I keep going back and forth whether or not I think he's creepier with or without the mask.
Oh, without, easily.
Yeah, I would agree though. This is the first time I watched it since it came out, and I still found it to be really engaging. You're sucked in. It's very suspenseful, tense. When she's trying to get her phone, and of course she kicks it further across the bed or whatever.
It's happened to all of us.
Yeah, exactly. It's all that stuff. It was really well done.
Yeah.
When I first saw it, I was totally taken aback by the CGI. And then this time I was no, I'm actually, now that CGI is way more commonplace, I'm more okay with it in terms of moving through walls and stuff like that. I just think that, and my one word for this movie is indulgent. I felt I felt like it was somebody who got a new set of tools and wanted to let's just go hog wild in this film, right?
And this is after Fight Club, right? So I
Yeah,
feel
it's his next movie after
I
Fight
feel
Club.
like he's capitalizing on a little bit of what
Yep.
people thought was really cool about
Yep.
Fight Club. A lot of those CGI moments.
Yeah. It's just an interesting
wasn't
choice
really-
for this film and what it is to have so much CGI.
Yeah.
And that's where it just kind of felt like maybe he was just indulging himself a little bit. But no, I'm actually probably going to add it to my library on Blu-ray or something like that, because I did enjoy it. I actually really like the sound. We hooked up some surround speakers to our VCR, so because old tapes, if they say Dolby Stereo on it or Dolby Surround, they're actually in this antique surround sound, and it was kind of fun because when he clears, that they throw stuff off of the Kitchen Island,
Oh,
I heard a
travel
tin
story.
can like fall behind me, and it was and at the end scene where they're coming up the stairs, there's like the house is moaning. And it's coming from all around you, and it's like
Interesting.
the Foley work on this movie was really good.
Yeah, Simon actually clocked that one even before I did, just talking about how well the reverb matched the environments each time you're in a different part of the house.
When you're in the
right.
panic room, it sounds like you're in a little claustrophobic space.
Yeah, I thought the transition between like the one room to the other when we are doing those pans across and through the walls, it's like the room tone changes and it's palpable.
So would you rewind this one?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
We did rewind.
Cool.
Our next tape is 1993's A Perfect World. Directed by Clint Eastwood, starring Kevin Costner, Laura Dern, Bradley Whitford, who was kind of a chameleon in this, and it's a little boy. I really didn't know what to think of. Haven't really watched many Clint Eastwood movies. What I did think of was how much I didn't really want to watch another Kevin Costner movie. And, he's a fine actor. We did recently watch Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And when we first got this collection, there was this transitional period where there were maybe about like 200 tapes in our apartment just sitting while we were sorting out where we were going to keep these tapes. And what was it? The Postman was one of those tapes. And so I was just like picking through the bags that we had and watching movies. And I thought like, oh, why not? Let's put in The Postman. I didn't know how long it was. I was upset. I also didn't really realize, because I never bothered to look into it, that The Postman was a movie set in the future and not in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, I can go on. This movie was actually really good. I really, really liked it. I know that the characters were tough for you to watch.
This movie challenged me for sure. This movie challenged me for sure.
Yeah.
And even just like the box art here is just kind of really confusing. Like the actual title, like lockup of, I guess, like the movie logo, A Perfect World, looks like it could just say A Problem Child.
Mm-hmm.
The way this is kind of designed. So that was one thing that really threw me off, especially here, like where it says A Perfect World. Like that just looks like this is supposed to be a kid's movie, and it was not at all.
Or a musical.
I mean, it does involve a kid.
Yeah.
There is a child in it, but this is not, I don't think, at all this is a movie that kids could watch. I think.
No.
I watched
I would not
movie
show this to a kid. I would not show this to a kid. I'll disagree there.
I'd let a kid watch it.
What I will say is interesting about this title, though, is you can see that they've inserted
shorts.
He's wearing shorts.
Yeah, I was looking for this in the actual movie, and he never actually wears the shorts.
I wonder if they use some old-fashioned photo trickery, or maybe even some early CGI to put shorts on him. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. My guess is they probably just took the photo, like either on set or like during a rehearsal or something, because
I wouldn't discount that this is Photoshop trickery. Like, this is really easy to do.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah. Y'all would know better than I would.
But in the movie, this kid is, or at least like the first part of this movie, he's in his a shirt and some underwear because he gets kidnapped. And then the rest of the movie, he's in a Casper costume. Anyways. Shall we? Okay, so the front of the box says, "Amazing and unforgettable. One of the best American film in years," says Dennis Cunningham of CBS TV.
Good old Dennis Cunningham.
All
Friend of yours?
All right.
No, I have no idea who he is.
And
Apparently he's a paid review.
I mean, his name is pretty big compared to some of the other reviews that we've done. Like it's legible.
Yeah.
There's a name attached to
Was
it.
it
Period.
CBS? You said
CBS TV.
He was probably hot shit at CBS.
Yeah,
It's not the movie network.
the Kids Network.
yeah.
The Kid
Right.
Network.
Yeah, the Kids Network, Movie Commission, like. Whoa, nice save.
Oh. Clumsy though. And on the back we have 4 stars, a movie that will endure. It says Dave Kerr of the New York Daily News. I agree that I'd give this 4 stars. I don't agree that this has endured.
That actually, I read that comment too, and I was just like, no, it doesn't. But it's part of why I picked the movie, because it's one of those movies like you're watching it, you're like, this is a good movie, and then like when you're not watching it, you forget about it.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like with a lot of Clint Eastwood movies. It's like I feel like they're good, but they never like go into this like the stratosphere. Like they never become like huge movies that are. I mean, there's probably a couple you could argue, but like I feel like he's done so many films with his company. They're all like entertaining to watch in the moment, but then like after you're done watching it, it kind of fades from memory.
Sure. Yeah.
This movie, it has a climax. It just doesn't feel like one because the movie sort of gets just kind of goes really high and then just kind of stays up here.
Mm-hmm.
So no thought. We're just going to go into the log line. Double Academy Award winners Kevin Costner and Clint Eastwood confront each other from opposite sides of the law in A Perfect World, an acclaimed, multi-layered manhunt saga, directed by Eastwood, that rumbles down Texas back roads toward a harrowing collision with fate. Costner plays Butch Haynes, a hardened prison escapee, on the lam with the young hostage, T.J. Lothar, in a remarkable film debut, who sees in Butch the father figure he never had. Eastwood is wily Texas Ranger Red Garrett, leading deputies and criminologist Laura Dern in a statewide pursuit. Red knows every road and pothole in the Panhandle. What's more, he knows the elusive Haynes because their paths have crossed before. They did?
Mm-hmm.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Completely missed that.
It was where she was talking about. I guess he influenced the judge to send him up for whatever that crime
Put
he
him in
committed.
4 years.
Yeah, put him in juvie or whatever.
Right.
He influenced that judge because
he's the reason he turned into a better criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Not a bad log line, but there's also nothing in here that, like, if I was at the video store, would make me want to. There's just a lot of things. It's not a genre I particularly gravitate towards very often. Like I said before, I'm kind of weary of Kevin Costner movies by this point. Same with Clint Eastwood. Like, unless it's an older Western, I have a really hard time getting excited about long dramas that are going to put me in a certain kind of mood for a few hours.
I feel like hearing the logline and watching this movie a ton, it's like it's telling me the situation, but it doesn't really tell me anything about why I'd want to watch this movie.
Yeah.
It tells me what's going on, but like when I think about the movie and I want to explain it to others, like I don't describe any of that stuff.
Right. And I think, like when I say this movie challenged me, I think probably my the ways that it challenged me and the sort of my biggest point of contention with how this movie is still talked about from everything I've seen is that they describe what happens as like this unlikely friendship and not like, nah, this kid got trauma bonded to like an actual criminal. Like, that's what happened. It's not a friendship.
Yeah, and I think it's actually... I feel like every character in this is like complicated. Nobody's black and white.
Yeah.
I think Laura Dern's character probably comes out like the closest to being like a kind of a hero with no complications.
Yeah.
But like,
well, like what we get from her in the beginning is kind of what we're left with at the end. It's like I don't think she really has an arc besides going through this experience. I mean, this is her first case as she's the criminologist assigned by the governor, and no one in the boys club wants to work with her, but they have no choice. And I don't really see her as coming out of it as a different person. She's just the same kind of headstrong and determined and intelligent person she was going into the movie.
But at the same point, like, I guess the only thing you could say is that she convinced everybody in the room that she knew what she was doing. But like, it's a very good example of like literally not being respected for your intelligence and like what you bring to the table, because of you're the rookie, but also you're a woman. Yeah. Like, and she has to overcome all that, which is a pretty, I think, standard thing. I think it's very representational of that time period for sure. Which is where I had like on this watching, just like Clint Eastwood's character, like usually he likes to play, I feel like, characters that righteous characters or whatever, and I felt like this guy was like very accurate for what a Texas Ranger in that time period would have been, and so I feel like played the part very accurately, but like in no way do I look at his character and be like, oh, I admire him or anything like that, right? But I actually like your take on like the trauma bonding for sure, right? Yeah. But I also, this movie to me is like about like the father-son relationship. And he needs a father because he doesn't have one. So he latches on to Kevin Costner's character, but he also is seeking his father. Like he's trying to get back in touch with his father, and he's suffering from not having a father, and he's trying to be that for the kid. And in the end, he actually gets upset because he sees another father mistreating his boy, right? But this movie is so much about the like paternal relationship. When they describe him as a hardened criminal, I don't know, I kind of disagree with that because they position him as somebody who was kind-hearted, was good, but was put in situations that kind of led to him being a criminal. And the other criminal that they escape with, he's more of like, just the
I guess a son of a bitch.
Criminal. Yeah. One of my favorite moments in this is that exchange where they're in the car and he's in the back seat and he says, if you ever do that again, I'll kill you. Yeah. And he's like, sounds like that's a threat. Is that a threat? Yeah. And he's like, it's like, no, that's a fact. And he's like, I'm going to punch you in the nose in 2 seconds. And then he punches him in the nose. And that's a threat. And then he punches him in the nose and he's like, and that's a fact. And then he just keeps going with it. And it's so good.
Okay, well, what I think what like really early on in the movie kind of positioned Butch as a character with at least like a moral compass that we do see throughout the movie, and we do even see just like kind of builds on a little bit, is the choice of we're taking the kid and not the woman, because he like knew, like even just like how that home invasion escalated was because the other guy that he escaped with, he's a loose cannon, and he pulled a Raul, or Raul pulled that guy, a Terry. His name
Terry, yeah.
Like in the moment that he had to decide, like, oh, we're taking this woman as our hostage, he was just like, that woman is probably going to die, if not get like assaulted several times. And so he's like, no, we're just going to take the boy. We're not going to take this woman. Or at least that's how I interpreted it. And maybe that's just because I am the woman.
When that part happened, I was just like, oh gosh, this is terrible.
I was relieved.
Yeah, I feel like part of why I feel like he chose the kid is like that scene establishes him like building some rapport, but like he was more interested in hanging out with this kid longer than he cared about I think the woman, but like I think it is interesting because I kind of wrote down like Kevin Costner is like, he shows like kindness, but like his criminality is like, I feel like those moments are like his decisiveness. Like he's very decisive. Like he kind of almost turns on a dime. He's like, okay, this needs to be done, like with dispatching the other escapee.
Yeah.
Like he's just very matter of fact when it needed to happen.
Right.
And that kind of plays into like how he is as a criminal. But he's also laid back. He's like laid back, and he has moments of kindness.
Laura Dern, during some of her exposition, is that he is an incredibly intelligent person.
Which
more
is
so than average.
more concerning.
Well, I think that is also translated to his social intelligence, because I didn't see him as a particularly violent person, considering the life he's had and where he's been forced to be. Like, he's been in prison since he was a teenager. That's unfortunate, and that'll ruin anyone's life. So to be able to build this relationship with a boy, and to have it be believable and like meaningful, and in the end tragic, I think speaks to if he never went to prison, if he wasn't a criminal, he would probably be a really good person by anyone's standards.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that I can believe.
Yeah, I kind of view this as like, for a moment in the middle of this film, they both have what they wanted. Like, he has a father, he has a son, that he can be the father that he wanted to have. Like, for a hot minute, they have like this father-son relationship, and a lot of the good things that come, like he's trying to like teach him the ways of the world and stuff like that. It's just like that dynamic, and it's bookended by like violence and death and all this stuff, and like this kid is like totally like 10. I'd like to see like the real life version of this kid like 10 years later, because this whole experience
is a bad experience.
It's totally,
yeah, it's a bad thing.
Yeah,
it is. But speaking to the kinds of lessons that he's passing on to this kid, like most of them, or at least like the ones that I feel are actually important, like like talking about that other father as being a good person because he put his family's safety over maybe his ego or his pride, and how just like how viscerally he reacts to violence against children. I think that I would describe the kinds of lessons that he's passing on are like good. Like, even though he's teaching them some bad habits, he is also a person who has been stunted, probably because he had to, like, he grew up in a dance hall. So he's a kid. He is a person who grew up without a childhood, and I can criticize some of the lack of impulse that he's passing on, but I'm not going to fault him for it.
Yeah.
Also, what can be more wholesome than hanging out with your father figure, making mustard sandwiches on the dashboard of your car with like a gum wrapper as a knife?
Yeah.
And him going just like, this is the best mustard sandwich I've ever, like, just like those little things like that to me.
Also, he gets caught with the woman at the diner.
Yeah.
And then he just leaves, and then he's in the car and he's trying to navigate that conversation of what happened.
Right.
And then he's trying, you can tell
he's more embarrassed.
Yeah.
By it. And I think it's because he does care about how this kid sees him. Like, I really did buy into him, like the relationship that both of them had, and that it was reciprocal, and that he like really meant everything that he said, because why humor a child like that?
Also, like how he explained it to, we're just like, did you love her? Do you love her? And
like,
he's
yep.
like, kissed her butt, didn't I?
Kissed her butt, didn't I?
Yeah,
I didn't put a bomb in it.
It's definitely like I said, this one was challenging. I will say though, for everything that I've criticized about this movie, I think it does stand as like a great movie, and it is worth mentioning that
very well made in all respects.
This was Cahiers du Cinema's movie of the year for 1993, which,
Nice.
if for anybody who doesn't know, Cahiers du Cinema is one of the premier movie journals. So, yeah. And
That's awesome.
Look it up.
sorry, my
You keep-
gesticulating wildly over here because I'm excited.
That's awesome. There are 2 fun facts that I want to make sure we mentioned. So when they were going to the store where he gets the Casper costume, when Kevin Costner's character Butch is walking in on the side walk or whatever, behind them on a building is a faded advertisement for like tobacco or something like that, but it's called Bull Durham.
What?
Which is another Kevin Costner movie. And I'm like, this
Oh,
can't
that's
be
funny.
like a coincidence. So I noticed that.
That's
That's
funny.
hard to catch in the VHS, by the way, because of the pan and scan.
Oh, okay.
You only
okay.
get like the L and Durham.
Oh, all right.
But the other piece was the amount of time in the past they were portraying from 1993 is exactly the amount of time it's been since then, since that movie came out. So if we were to make this movie today,
You could have it set in 1993.
set in
That's-
1993.
That's funny.
Because I was just watching, it's like, man, these classic cars are just smashing them together and stuff. Like, and I was like, oh, well, back then they were only. It's like if we took a car from '93 and like trashed it, we wouldn't care.
Right.
Yeah, you say that, but we have like my car is 2003. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my car's a 2003. A few months ago, one of the back windows was smashed. You have no idea how hard it is to get a replacement for a car that is, I guess, like 20 years old.
Yeah.
But you
Unless
know,
it's a Toyota Camry, then you can just go anywhere.
yeah. Well, I mean, if
Oh,
we're,
it's a rare car too.
but remember, Butch is a Ford guy, so we're
he's-
talking
Oh.
we're talking 90s Fords. So
Don't want a Buick. Want a Ford.
That was another thing that just took me back to like. So there are a lot of these things. It's very the background of this is very like Americana, right? So
Yeah.
and so much of it because my parents are from the middle of Kansas. Like I have relatives who live in rural parts, and it's like it was very. There was a lot of triggers for like, oh, this reminds me of how my father was with his brothers. So all these different things, right? So. Definitely where he was talking about being a Ford guy or whatever, I was like, oh my God. Yes. And I love that they put this in the movie in so much like detail. Like,
yeah.
You're a Ford or a
and then the best
Chevrolet?
part is he's stealing a Ford and it won't start right away.
Start, son of a bitch.
And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this piece of shit.
I do have a bone to pick with Kevin Costner. I don't know if this is anything to do with because he's in it. Clint Eastwood directed this, but in all of the other Kevin Costner movies that I've seen, no trailers.
Yeah. I actually went back to like double check and make sure I just didn't like fall asleep during the trailers, but there weren't.
Nope.
And I'm wondering if it's, I can't remember how long the movie was. I wonder if it's the length of the movie.
134 minutes.
It wasn't like it's not that much over 2 hours. That like you can certainly fit
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I remember when I watched the Postman, there were no trailers, and that struck me as really weird at the time. Probably less so now because I've seen quite a few movies without trailers. But when I first watched The Postman, not knowing that it was 3 hours, and then a few weeks later realizing like, oh, that's probably why there were no trailers. Robin Hood did not have any trailers. A Perfect World did not have any trailers.
yeah.
Just so tired of all these perfect worlds.
Yeah, it would be interesting to find out what determines whether or not certain movies got trailers or not.
I think if I had to guess, it would be because it's a prestige drama directed by an Oscar-winning director, and since it came out earlier in the 90s, my guess would be that it is like trailers were cheap, like would cheapen the movie. One word description.
Or description.
I never prepare for these, so I don't feel like they're going to be...
I got one locked and loaded. It's
know.
actually the only one that I've ever had locked and loaded. So
Go on.
Hurt people
Okay.
is my
Your one phrase?
summary for
Your
this
phrase.
this movie.
Okay.
Yeah, my one word would be just paternal.
Okay. Yeah.
Something that was noodling in my head was just like fathers. because one dynamic I hadn't really considered before because I missed it was Clint Eastwood being responsible for Kevin Costner going to juvenile prison. And I think it probably weighs on him as some kind of like a failure of like some kind of paternal failure.
Yeah, I can see that. Like at the very end,
he's definitely
he
ashamed
tries
of it because he doesn't cop to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and at the end, he tries to kind of shield him from, they want to shoot him.
Yeah.
And he tries to, I feel like I can buy that.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And I think Clint Eastwood does a really good job of playing a very subtle shame in that moment, because there's the moment where Butch looks him in the eyes like, do I know you? Like, do I recognize you from somewhere? And Clint Eastwood's like, nope. So definitely like, I'm with you there.
All right. So my phrase would be failed fathers.
Okay. Yeah.
Our next movie is 1935's 39 Steps, directed by Alfred Hitchcock.
It's an instructional video.
I thought
It's a how-to.
Yeah.
This is such a strange copy of it too. It's Video Film Classics. The design of this box feels very cheap. First of all, it's in a clamshell. I don't know what exactly the strategy behind clamshells was. The kids' movies, video rental stores, and just like cheap productions of it. It's probably because you could really easily switch out the jackets. So all you'd need is just like a printer versus whatever kind of production you need to go into like an actual paper box. But you got this little illustration down here, which I find very funny. And okay, just like no nitpicks here, just broad, general, this is okay. Yeah, and it's only 79 minutes, which it feels a little long. This is still, I still think of this as like an interesting, at times fun movie, but it feels longer than 79 minutes. An innocent man is plunged into a world of deception, intrigue, and chaos, and classic entertainment as the result. Richard Hannay is sitting in a London music hall when a man is killed. A young woman confesses the murder to him. What?
Mm-hmm.
That's not what happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she fires a gun into the air.
Oh,
Who does she kill?
just this guy.
I fired those shots.
It was after him, or after her rather.
Okay. A young woman confesses the murder to him and begs him for sanctuary. She explains that she is playing a lonely game of counter-espionage against foreign spies who have stolen a valuable military secret and are preparing to take it out of the country. Then the enigmatic lady is murdered, leaving Hannay with the meager information that his own life is in danger and that he will learn the secret of the 39 steps in a certain Scottish hamlet. Hannay's predicament is fantastic. He's pursued by the police and by the spies. There's a subtle feeling of menace on the screen at all times, yet there's a delightful humor interwoven with the intrigue. Okay. Alfred Hitchcock's mastery of shock and suspense combines with his slyly incongruous wit to make this a movie to be enjoyed again and again.
Like the word, use of the word meager.
Yeah.
The thing that I pointed out last night is on the theme of a lot of our episodes have a lot of like echoing or rhyming aspects or qualities. And so we got two movies here about manhunts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just really did not get. They never. She just says, I fired the gun. She doesn't say, I killed the man.
It's also really hard to make out, like, again, this is, I think, where, you know, it's worth talking a little bit about the audio and the visual on both of the copies, because...
Yeah, I think the logline captured the movie pretty well.
I'm going to chalk it up to 1935 but the Foley on this film in certain spot, like the baby crying in the audience, it was like, where is this coming from? It sounds so weird. But it was also some of the charm, like when she's explaining to him, or actually when she's dead already and he remembers her saying stuff to him.
Yeah.
And just the, like, her silhouette, this partially like translucent or whatever, and like the sound of her voice, which is so eerie and kind of creepy, and like,
totally
love it.
And some of those things don't come through in this transfer.
Oh.
So in our last episode, we talked. I mentioned that we had recently watched our other copy of 39 Steps, and you picked this because you wanted to watch a different version, and for other timing reasons.
Yeah.
But we got to watch like another tape that we had. We're a little excited that we were gonna. Our other tape is in really rough shape. There's a lot of static, and the static is really noisy.
It's pretty intermittent tracking issues.
Yeah, and it's really distracting throughout the entire movie. This had better sound.
Better audio, worse video.
Way worse video. The transfer is so blown out or not exposed enough. It's like someone was trying to dial in the settings as the scene and the lighting changed and then left it on for, several scenes past. So there's that one scene we can talk about the scene where we have like the woman's face transposed over that dark area. We also see her face transposed over a map.
The map that has a town called Killen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's different about it is like the first time we see that happening is like an entire, like 2/3 of the screen is pitch black. So when you superimpose this woman talking, you see her like somewhat like really clearly, and it's really spooky. The second time we do this, the map is white, and we're still like superimposing her features over it using the same techniques. And this is so blown out, you don't see her face at all.
Oh, wow.
You just kind of, you see some stuff moving in the middle of the map. And another scene that was like really, really painful to watch was the scene you really liked.
Oh, yes.
Where they're all in the car. They're like 4 people are in a car, and it's kind of dark, and you can see what's happening inside the car. You can see what's happening outside the car. And on this tape, it's so dark, you can only see like the woman's head. So it looks like her head is floating. You can't see the background. You can't see the other actors. This is weird. This is a really weird watch.
Yeah.
The actress who played Pamela in this movie, the first time we watched it, I remember being just fascinated by her. She has these like collars with like these it's almost like a bow tie that comes out to here, and I'm not being hyperbolic. It was amazing.
Me of my geography teacher.
And I kind of forgot about it, but the first time we watched it, I was just like, oh my God, I love like bring this back. We need to bring this back. This is so fun. And halfway through the movie, you're like, in the movie with the collars, and I'm like, what collars? You couldn't see the collars because it was so fucking blown out. So this was much harder to watch, in the same way that Nightbreed was hard to watch, where there was nothing there to hold my attention, so I just kind of kept wandering off and not at all paying attention.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it is really interesting with a lot of these old movies, like what transfer they were, or what source material they were able to get when they mastered it, and all these different companies, and then like things like Metropolis, like there were huge sections of that movie that were thought to be completely gone.
Totally.
And in like the last decade or maybe 15 years, were unearthed.
Yes.
And so we get to see more of the movie than you ever would have got to see on home video in the 80s. But like, just what is like 39 Steps is on Tubi right now for free, but it's also on the Criterion channel.
Okay, yeah.
And I found out...
Huh?
That's the one you have, right?
Yeah, we have the Criterion DVD.
Yeah. The when Criterion got a hold of it, they didn't get their hands on a new master, so they were working with the master of like the previous Blu-ray or whatever, the same source they were, but their mastering of the Blu-ray is where they kind of put in their expertise. But you're still getting a lot of the same as what you got with previous releases, but it got improved just through like higher bit rate, stuff like that, right?
Right.
So there's all those things that are kind of like in the mix with all of these different copies of VHS, DVD.
Yeah.
Like there's this guy I follow on YouTube, I forget his name, but like he was just going on and on about like the only way to hear like the original audio soundtrack for Citizen Kane is like with the 1993 Turner classic movies release.
Yeah.
Everything else has been horribly like noise reduction, stuff like that. Yeah. But it just kind of goes to show you like how much these things can change and
totally
be a different viewing experience.
Totally. And one thing I will say, so this didn't have any trailers on it, but the opening bumpers are killer.
Oh, man.
They're great.
Yeah, we've gone on about, we've watched 2 tapes so far distributed by Nostalgia Factory.
Nostalgia Merchant.
Merchant. And those bumpers are incredible. This one is better. This was actually my favorite. And it's Cart's video communication. So, it was so good.
Yeah,
and it kind of just like kept going. Like usually when, like New Line or Orion or Canon, like you just, it comes in, it lasts for no more than 5 seconds. This one went on for like 20.
There were two distinct bumpers.
Yeah.
And they were so good.
But this guy's deal, Carts, is actually a guy, Richard K. Shull.
It's 78 minutes.
Who founded this company, and it's the same story as Nostalgia Merchant, where basically it's like we're getting the like cheapest public domain things we can get and releasing it on video.
You didn't show me this last time.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and also I think this is a dupe because you'll notice that there's a lot more tape.
Yeah, it says Scotch right on it.
It says Scotch on it and T90 on the spine.
Oh, there you go.
Like, so,
yeah.
So someone bought this and then recorded their own.
Either that, or my guess is that it was it was a video rental, and maybe the original was starting to get a little messed up.
It is interesting.
Yeah, this is a lot of tape for what is not even an hour and a half.
Yeah, my copy that I watched did not have bumpers because I think they didn't have the space because they really cheaped out. It was recorded at EP speed, so I had like that much tape on the reel.
Yeah, I mean that's about the same as the other copy that we have up there. Yeah. And that might actually explain some of the tracking issues. I'll bet I didn't check to see if it was recorded at EP, but that would explain a lot. Yeah,
my auto tracking VCR was going crazy once I stuck that tape in.
Oh.
But when you were talking about clamshells, I was going to mention like all the Disney movies bring clamshells, which would go to your theory around kids.
But they hurt so much. Like, why didn't they make those safer? The edges on Disney, like
edges, they suck.
On the Disney ones are so sharp.
Yeah,
sharp.
Yeah, it was interesting. After watching 39 Steps, found out that there was a 1959 version, a remake.
This is what I've heard. And
we literally decided to watch that back to back.
And how long was that one?
It's a little bit longer because they try to like play it out and like. I guess fill some gaps. Like in the movie, he gets off of the bridge, but they don't show how he gets off the bridge. This movie decided it had to show him getting down to the bridge. Like never had any problem.
If you have a good idea, did they have good ideas about how to get him off the bridge?
It was not good. I can't not recommend it enough. What's funny about it though, and I was kind of glad I was watching it because it was the same year that Alfred Hitchcock did North by Northwest.
Oh wow!
Which was where he was drawing on those same tropes. Like he was kind of like he was building on these things that he'd already done for a long time, and he was creating something like a masterwork.
Right.
The guy who directed this remake actually asked Alfred Hitchcock how he felt about him remaking 39 Steps. And Alfred Hitchcock
and what
was
kind
like,
of catty bitchy thing did
he was
say?
He was like, have at it, but he was also like, I'm sure you won't make it as well as I would, kind of thing, right?
there it is.
But I was like, oh my God, because like the film, like quality and color and everything, just, yeah, it's 100% that same year that North by Northwest came out. And when you look at it in that way, it so pales in comparison. But it's kind of like the Psycho remake where they did the shot. It's not a shot for shot remake.
Yeah.
But
was that Gus Van Sant?
I think you might be right.
Yeah, but it was like a shot for shot remake that also included extra little bits that may or may not have been needed.
Yeah, and this one wasn't necessarily a shot for shot, but it was like very much like they were trying to make it more contemporary. You know, they changed the not MacGuffin, but the because in the first one it's like an engine, and the second one it's has to do with like a missile or something like that.
State secret.
So they changed some things. They wanted to make it contemporary, but
Engine?
Yeah, the thing Mr. Memory starts citing at the
it's like a formula.
It's like a silent engine.
How to build an engine,
which she shoots with a gun at the beginning. I'm just kidding.
It's funny. Yeah. Shot the engine. She's hiding it in her purse.
Also, did you notice when the professor has him at gunpoint in his office?
Oh, yeah.
And he says, I can just leave you alone in the room with this revolver.
Right.
Oh, the sheriff. Isn't that the sheriff?
No, that's the professor. He's the guy with the nub.
Oh,
finger, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's actually not holding a revolver at all.
No, it's like a tiny little...
like a pistol.
Yeah. Oh, also, I was like scouring the internet trying to find out if there was some significance to the fact that Herring shows like he brings her over to his apartment and he's like, "Are you hungry? Here's like some herring that he just pulls out of the fridge."
The Scottish
and like starts frying.
Yeah.
So they have like herring and bread.
Yeah.
And
the Scottish farmers cook herring.
He asked him if he'd eat herring, and then when he's doing the improv speech at the election rally or whatever.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a great scene. I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
Some great ad-libbing there. But he goes, "Okay, let's open it up to the topic." And some woman is like, "Let's talk about the herring fisheries." And I'm just like, what is it with herring in this movie? And it's like, is it referring to like a red herring?
That
is
feels
it referring
like it could
to
be...
like, and I just literally cannot find anything that tells me it was intentional or not. But
maybe like the herring itself is a red herring.
Yeah, exactly.
I was really upset that we never got to hear the answer to what causes like something in chickens. That old man at the beginning of the movie, before the riot breaks out, or as the riot is breaking out at the beginning because of the gunshot. Like I'm pretty sure he's a farmer. He was just like, what causes this in chickens? And he's just like, he's not trying to get out of the building because he's desperate to get the answer to this question. And he's kind of getting crushed by this stampede.
And his wife's embarrassed because he's like asking, I guess, something that makes him look lowbrow or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She's like embarrassed because of the question he's trying to get answered.
I felt so bad for this man. I'm just like, just please someone give him the answer to this question. Someone save his chickens.
Yeah, I was like, even though he said it like 3 times and ended up kind of reviewing that scene a second time, I still didn't know what he was saying.
Oh, because the thick accent?
Well, because the audio. I just like...
Sure, yeah.
And the accent probably. But yeah, I was like, I don't even know what he's saying.
I'm really, in a strange way, I'm like forming a relationship with this movie, and it was totally like not a thing that I was trying to do. It's just now I've seen it a couple times and I've become curious about it. But it is also considered such a seminal work for so many people. I think that's what actually maybe compels me to it a little bit more, is that there are people who would say that this is where escapist entertainment, for instance, begins. And as you mentioned, Josh, how so much of vintage British Hitchcock kind of comes to fruition here, and then this is like the launch pad for everything that he does in his career later on, and like really refines.
I think it's one of those, and I agree with you, like when you watch it again, you actually start to get it more, I think. The thing that is really tough for us is we're carrying so much baggage of everything that's come since.
Yeah.
And it's like for someone who's born in the last 15 years, the Beatles. Why were the Beatles like so famous? Well, like you have to know what the music scene was like before they came on the scene, that kind of stuff.
Or even what the music scene was like as they were
and the beginning,
where they started.
Yeah. And then at the beginning of this movie, there are some very film noir shots. Like when he goes to the coat check or like the ticket booth or whatever, like and when he walk into the apartment, the way it's lit without the light on, very film noir. But this is like 5 years before film noir really
was a genre even.
Right.
Okay.
So if you can somehow, I feel like it's one of those things where you have to be educated on everything that you're taking for granted to see why this movie was so impactful.
That makes sense. The friend of mine that originally recommended it to me recommended it because his favorite film class that he took in school was his film noir class.
Nice.
So that makes a lot of sense that you're spelling it out for me there. Well, one word description on this guy?
Incongruous wit.
Incongruous wit. Okay.
Because I do appreciate like Hitchcock's humor. It was just really jarring in this movie because of the subject matter and the stakes. And it just seemed like it would really like drastically turn on a dime whenever we were experiencing like levity, or half of what you're saying starts out as like a threat and then it turns into a joke. And I struggled with it.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
My one word was going to be herring, but if we're able to use a phrase, I'm going to say, you like herring?
You like herring? All right.
I just thought it was that whole scene where he's like in the apartment and he's like, you like herring? And then he like just pulls out a whole fish out of the fridge.
That's funny. That's gotta be a time and a place thing. I wonder if it's some sociological thing. Like
I was also thinking like, well, they probably didn't have saran wrap, like, so it would make sense that it's just sitting in the fridge.
Yeah.
It's just like stuff like that like, again, like has come since.
Right.
That makes the way they treat their food and stuff in the fridge like weird.
Yeah.
Like, I just found that scene to be like awkwardly funny.
I'm sure food historians would know about this. So if you're a food historian, just let us know how commonplace was it to have and cook and feed to people whole herrings.
Or if it's an intentional thing put in by Alfred.
Yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock?
Yeah. Any Hitchcock scholars?
Yeah.
Did you have one?
I
don't have to.
I don't have one locked and loaded, but
as someone who's been strangely,
I would say
obsessed with this movie,
mystique.
Oh.
This movie has a mystique about it. It's just one of those movies I look forward to forming a relationship with, like Citizen Kane, like King Kong.
Yeah.
All right.
I would rewind.
Yeah, I'd rewind.
Oh, you didn't ask me about that one.
Oh, would you rewind A Perfect World?
In a perfect world, I would and I did.
In a perfect world, we wouldn't have to rewind.
I don't think I rewind only because I would not rewind this exact tape because the transfer is so bad. It is such an unpleasant experience to not be able to see what you're watching. Especially, I'm sure there's no audio descriptions on here or any other accessibility features. But immediately after we watched this, you popped in the Criterion DVD just to see what is this movie supposed to look like if it could look at its best. Yeah. And it looked really good.
It looks great. It looks great.
So this tape I would not rewind. On to the mystery part of Mystery Simon Theater. The tapes that I'm going to have to watch next week. Our guest next week is Stephen Como. In the first tape, right? Is his?
Yes.
Okay. Shit! It's cool. This is a very fun movie. I don't know if that's, like, I don't love Con Air, but I'm very excited about it. This is a very fun movie. And talk about a tragic anti-hero.
Yeah.
All right.
I think the last time I saw this movie was when it came out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't think of this movie without thinking of, I used to work at a theme park, and in one of the break rooms that we had for a really long time, we were kind of allowed to bring movies and just like watch them. Like no one was really monitoring us. Even though the television was facing the door that opened up into this kind of hallway where guests and children would walk by all day, every day. And Con Air was the tape that was playing when some kids were walking, or some family was walking by, and some parents complained, and then we couldn't watch videos anymore.
No.
Because of Con Air. Sort of. It wouldn't be because of Con Air. It's because of parents. Parents are the worst. Okay. The next movie is your... Well, they're both random.
Well, they're both random. So
Okay.
this time I went on ahead and did a random pick since I've been doing, a little bit of curation.
Interesting. Okay.
That's what I said. I'm looking forward to this one.
I'm excited about everyone on here. This is Cactus Flower, and first thing I see is Walter Matthau, who we've been talking about quite a while lately.
We've been talking about him.
Ingrid Bergman and a very,
Goldie
very
Hawn.
young Goldie Hawn. So cool.
It always bothers me when the names of the actors don't line up with their
Both of these.
picture.
I mean, I understand how that happens. And you, who's worked as a designer previously, it's like you get, like Nick Cage is the most important person, so he has to be first, but he also has to be center. And it's like, okay, you sacrifice visual logic for studio contracts. And so this is another random tape. Okay. Yeah, this is called...
This is not a Kevin Costner movie.
Yeah, I was like,
Thank God.
seems close.
I mean, I'm excited about everyone on here so far. So it's called Waterland. It's Jeremy Irons and a very young Ethan Hawke. And someone recently pointed out to me that Ethan Hawke has never been in a blockbuster.
Gattaca was a blockbuster.
Gattaca was not, but
That's a good movie.
It was a good movie.
It's got big names in it, sure, but it wasn't like a...
wait, wasn't he
It
in
was
Con Air?
mid-budget.
Yeah, so I've seen this cover before, and it sort of reminds me of Dead Poet Society, but I know that's not what it is, I'm sure. We'll find out next week. Okay. Josh, is there anything you'd like to let everyone know about before we close this thing out?
No, thanks for having me on the show. I encourage everybody to watch more movies.
Yeah, cool. Awesome,
At home.
awesome.
Like
At home.
Be proud of your at-home setup. I know we are,
Yeah,
in a way.
yeah.
Yeah,
Find the one you like.
if you're watching movies, on the built-in speaker in your TV, go buy a soundbar. Take it up to the next level.
We're watching it on the built-in speaker. But...
Oh, sorry. I meant on a modern flat panel TV.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're actually even worse speakers.
Oh, because they're
Imagine-
behind, right?
Well,
Oh,
it's
right,
because they
right,
don't
yeah.
have any space for the speakers.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Old CRTs have better
just-
speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, get yourself a CRT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly how the director intended you to see it. One of my favorite images is the backs of a seat in an airplane that has like a little monitor, and it's showing the opening credits of 2001: A Space Odyssey. And the tagline was like, "Finally, I'm getting to see it exactly the way the director intended."
Have you ever seen that video of David Lynch ranting about how the kids these days watch movies on their phone, and that's...
Oh, I think I saw that. Yeah.
It's adorable. I recommend everyone watch it. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us to talk about A Perfect World, Panic Room, and The 39 Steps. If you'd like to see the trailers, I include the full clips of our trailers in my newsletter. which for now you can find at weirdwonderfulstuff.substack.com. Thank you, and I'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, thanks a lot, y'all.
You like headaches?
Yes, please.